All right, good morning, traders. Thank you for being here. Today is May 28th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I moderate the BYOB. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for being here. Thank you for following me or subscribing to my content out there in digital land, podcast land, cyber land. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the kind comments. Appreciate all of that. All right, let's go ahead and dig into today's message. All right, so today is May 28, 2025. Thanks for being here. My SPY pivot 589.15. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. All of the five still in daily uptrends. All made higher lows and higher highs, closing over their traps over their 17 EMAs. SPY closed with a 2-hour. That's a 2-hour uptrend and a 10-minute uptrend. It's supposed to be both uptrends. So SPY closed with a 2-hour uptrend and a 10-minute uptrend. Gold in a daily downtrend. Gold made lower low and a lower high, closing under a bullish trap but over the 17 EMA. Silver in an uptrend, made a lower high and a lower low, closing over a bullish trap over the 17. USO in a downtrend, made a higher high and an equal low, closing over a bullish trap over the 17. UNG also in a daily downtrend, made an inside day, closing over a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. US dollar index still in a downtrend. We like that. Closed near 99.58 area. SPY max pain for today is 588 with a put to call ratio of about 1 1/3 puts to each call that expires today at 4:15. All right, let's take a look at some charts. All right, first one we'll look at SPY. Let's take a look at it on the 10-minute chart. All right, you can see coming into the close, we had a cross right here. Had a little 10-minute downtrend, but the last candle wound up being kind of bullish. So we got a 10-minute, I'll just call it a 10-minute uptrend coming into the close. I'm looking for continuation of that 10-minute uptrend coming into the close. Remember, our target was 592.59 yesterday. You can see we're hitting it right now. So I'm looking for continuation of that 10-minute uptrend that they just started at the very last candle there. So the bulls jumped in at the very last minute. So I'm going to call it a 10-minute uptrend with the 3 EMA up over the 8 EMA there. 10-minute uptrend coming into the close. Not a real convincing one. Mostly just consolidation in the last 4 hours. You can see we left off pretty close to where the high of noon yesterday, right there. Kind of pretty close to the same area, about 590.60. All right, so on the 2-hour, you can see on the 2-hour, got the 3 EMA. That's the faster moving average up over the 8 EMA. So bullish 2-hour uptrend coming into the close yesterday. Let's take a look at the game plan since we already got it up here. All right, let's take a look at it on the 10-minute chart and zoom out a little bit. All right, for the game plan, okay, again, I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. All right, again, we've got that 2-hour uptrend going on. All right, so I'm looking for all those 10-minute uptrends inside that 2-hour uptrend, that's inside that daily uptrend, that's inside that monthly uptrend. Could probably say they're inside that weekly uptrend, but it's not really an uptrend. But let me just say that weekly candles are not moving down; they're moving up. So we've got a unique opportunity. All of that over the all-time high anchored VWAP. So we got that unique opportunity. I am very interested in playing 10-minute uptrends over VWAP inside those 2-hour uptrends that are inside those daily uptrends that are inside those monthly uptrends, and all of that over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Yes, I am very interested in playing and trading all of those. All right, so I like two days till expiration Friday options. I like 9 days till expiration Friday options. I like $5 to $15 out of the money. They're a little bit cheaper. If you want the very best performance, Those aren't the best performing options, all right? But they do offer less risk, all right? That's the one thing I like about them, is because I don't want to, I don't want to. I'm not interested in the best performing option, which is going to be, most of the time, it's going to be that a 0 DTE in the money option. That one's probably going to give you that penny for penny performance. These don't give you the penny for penny performance. You'll get probably 60-80% of every dollar move up, all right? But on the flip side, they offer less risk, all right? Especially when you got big $2-3 candles, all right? And if you got 10 contracts, a $2-3 candle can wipe out, a couple $1,000 pretty easily, all right? If you got 10 contracts on those in the money options that are 0 DTE, all right? So I like them. 2 days till expiration Friday. I like them 9 days till expiration Friday options. I like them on the increments of 5. All right, they have a little bit more on the open interest there. I like higher open interest. That's going to give me more liquidity most of the time. Tighter bid-ask spread. I like that. I like all of that. All right, so we have green erases red over 591.60. Okay, that is our green erases red entry. On SPY pivot today, 589.15. Again, above it I'm a bull, below it I'm a bear. We have red erases green underneath 585.15. Okay, so under 585.18 is a red erases green entry. So there's our game plan for today. Take a look at QQQ. They got a game plan too. All right, same options. 2 days till expiration Friday option, 9 days till expiration Friday option, $2 to $5 out of the money. Same thing. I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. Again, unique opportunity today. All right. Got those 2-hour uptrends. All right. Inside those daily uptrends, inside that monthly uptrend on QQQ. All right, so I'm very interested in playing and trading those 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, because you got all that 2-hour uptrend inside the daily uptrend, inside the monthly uptrend, all over that all-time high anchored VWAP. Very interested in trading those. All right, QQQ pivot for today, 519.25. All right, above it I'm a bull, below it I'm a bear. Bearish underneath 515.40. 515.45. Let's fix that one. Right there. Okay, QQQ pivot. Green erases red over 521.80. You can see we're already up over that. Okay, so green erases red over 521.80. Pivot 519.25. Make sure I got it right. Bearish, red erases green underneath 515.45. That would be a gap fill. Okay, if we look at SPY candle for yesterday, QQQ candle for yesterday, look at this bullish gap up that never got filled by the bears. All right, that's intense. That's very impressive. Think about it. Day before on Friday, okay, we had a bearish gap down that didn't get filled by the bulls. All right. So the bulls came back today and did a bullish gap that didn't get filled by the bears. So nice work on QQQ and SPY. Again, almost closing the day near the high of the day. So nice work on QQQ and SPY. I think we had a trend day going on QQQ and SPY. Both of those with a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP between the hours of 11 and 12. Trend day. All right, trend day strategy. Look for that to close near the high of the day at the end of the day. So there's QQQ. Let's take a peek at this on the daily chart. Let's pick up a cleaner chart. Okay. All right, you can see everybody got a higher low and a higher high, closing over a trap, over the rising 17, over the uptrend line, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. making higher lows, higher highs. That's an uptrend. Up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. Same deal with SPY, okay? SPY on, the daily chart. Higher low, higher high, closing over the trap, over the 17, over the uptrend line, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. Again, up here in quadrant 4, that's an uptrend, higher low, higher high. That's an uptrend. Up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. All right, so it's same thing, SPY and QQQ. All right, let's take a look at FNGB. All right, same deal. Higher low, higher high, closing over the trap, over the 17. Don't mean to sound like a broken record, but it is what it is. All right, up over all-time high anchored VWAP, over the uptrend line. Up here in the upper third, that's bullish. Higher lows, higher highs, that's an uptrend. Let's take a look at IWM. All right, higher low, higher high, closing again over the trap, over the 17. A little different here, not quite as strong as the rest of the market. It's over the uptrend line, okay? It's under the midpoint and it's under the all-time high anchored VWAP, okay? It's not in the lower third, it's not in the upper third. So that makes it neutral. All right, so it's just neutral there on IWM. All right, you can see price action under the all-time high anchored VWAP. Very different than the other ones. Okay, so right here at the midpoint. So price action still in an uptrend, making higher lows and higher highs. So that's an uptrend, but just neutral right through here. Okay, so I did IWM. I did, let's see, Diamond Dow. Diamond Dow, higher low, higher high. Again, closing over the trap, over the rising 17, over the all-time high anchored VWAP, over the uptrend line, over the downtrend line. Up here in upper third, closing in the upper third, that's bullish. It's a nice recovery there, Diamond Dow. That's bullish up there in the upper third. Higher low, higher high, that's an uptrend. Let's take a look at our technicals, T21.22. You can see we made a beeline for the overbought zone. All right, we jumped up there and we just camped out all day. We went from breakfast all the way through dinner, and then we just camped out all through the evening. Overbought zone, all the way up here in the overbought zone. We came from the midpoint, sailed clear over the buy zone, and just camped out up here inside the overbought zone from almost the beginning of the day to the end of the day. T21.23. Okay, it's a 15-minute chart. Okay, nice bull flag going on right there. Notice price goes up and over to the right. All right, bull flag going on. Again, you got that bullish gap up. All right, that never got filled by the bears. You get buying from the beginning of the day to the end of the day. It's a bullish environment. Look how they close the end of the day near the high of the day. That's bullish. All right, up over the rising 200 SMA. That's bullish. In a bull flag, also bullish. Up over the downtrend line. That's bullish. Everything looking good there. Everything's in an uptrend, making higher lows and higher highs. That's a 15-minute chart. Here's the 3-bar chart of the same product. Okay, 3 more green candle bars. Okay, still in that bull flag. Still making higher lows and higher highs. So we got higher lows and higher highs. There's the high. Finally made a higher high on T21.23. Okay, closing up over that downtrend line. Closing up over this fading 200 SMA. Okay, getting ready to make a pounce attack on those prior all-time highs right there. So there's T21.23. Okay, this is looking good, but the daily's still not in an uptrend. This is nice and green. Okay, but on the daily chart, okay, we still have to come all the way. See, this is the first time we break up over the 17 is up here. So we have to come all the way. See all the red? We have to come all the way up here to make the higher high in order to get T21.23 into an uptrend. Okay, we can be on the upside over this downtrend line, but not until we make a higher high, and that's way up there. So still a lot of work to be done. Hence, that's why you see IWM, aka Russell 2000, kind of still in the neutral zone, all right? Whereas everybody else, high flying, up there in the upper third, up there in quadrant 4, looking real good. Okay, so there's T21, 23. I think they're going to get there, okay? Inflation takes a while, but I'm going to tell you, I think there's a lot of value out there given the inflation that we have gone through. Okay, FNGB right here. Again, we've got consolidation over prior consolidation. That's a bullish environment. Okay, look for those uptrends to work. All right, you got consolidation over prior consolidation. Bullish environment right there. Look for those uptrends to work out much better than the downtrends. We're up over the rising 200 SMA. We're up over this all-time high anchored VWAP. We're up over this uptrend. Okay, so FNGB looking good. Holding that higher ground. Hope this isn't a false breakout. We'll see, all right? There's 15-minute chart of FNGB. Let me go back and change this to the 3-bar. All right, let's take a look at a few other sectors real quick. Okay, XLE, energy, still down here in the lower third. That's bearish. It's in an uptrend, but still stuck in the lower third. Okay, still caught underneath. Downtrend line 1, downtrend line 2, all-time high anchored VWAP, or that 12-month high anchored VWAP right there. XLE, or all-time high anchored VWAP. Okay, in the lower third, still bearish. They're in an uptrend, but they're not moving up. Okay, just can't seem to get it going. All right, that's XLE. USO. USO still has not made a higher high. Okay, so they're still in a downtrend, not moving, not making higher highs is not, it's not a good recipe for bulls. Okay, so price action USO still in a downtrend here. Closing in the lower third, that's bearish. Closing underneath, excuse me, this 3-year high anchored VWAP, that's the post-COVID high right there. Okay, still closing underneath that 3-year high anchored VWAP, closing under the midpoint. Again, making lower highs and lower lows. Here's a low, it's a lower low. That's a downtrend, USO. Let's take a look at UNG, then we'll get precious metals. All right, UNG got lower highs. There's a high. And lower lows. There's a lower low. See, there's the high. We made a lower high. See the low. We made a lower low. So we're stuck in a downtrend here on UNG. Okay, UNG not quite in the lower third, so they're neutral. All right. They go down. They give it up. That's neutral. All right. Still stuck underneath the downtrend line. Barely closing over this 12-month high anchored VWAP. So just neutral, but still stuck in a downtrend until they take out and make a higher high right here. Okay, so there's UNG. Still in a downtrend, still neutral. Not getting much help from UNG or USO. Let's take a look at gold. Gold got a, you can see right here, we got a lower high and a lower low, closing inside a bullish trap over the 17. Over the pink line, that's the all-time high anchored VWAP. Zoom out, we're over the uptrend line. That's good. That's bullish. All right, we're in a downtrend because we made a lower high and a lower low. See the low? We made a lower low, so we're in a downtrend. But we're up here in quadrant 4. That's bullish. Okay, anytime you see price action up over all-time high anchored VWAP, you could be in a downtrend, but if you're over all-time high anchored VWAP, that is really bullish right there. So there's gold up in quadrant 4 over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's bullish. Still stuck with that downtrend label. It's just a label because it makes lower highs and lower lows. So there's gold. Let's take a look at silver. Silver, lower high, lower low, closing inside a bullish trap, over the 17, over the downtrend line, over this. That's a 6-month high, also doubles as a 12-year high, anchored VWAP. Up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish. There's a high, they made a higher high. There's a low, they made a higher low, higher high, closing over the bullish trap, over the 17, that's the red dots right there, over the 17 EMA, over the downtrend line, over that 12-year high anchored VWAP. That's looking good, all right? Up there in quadrant 4, that's bullish. All right, let's take a look at SMH. SMH, not quite in the upper third. Pretty darn close, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give it to him. That looks close enough for me. All right, SMH. All right, higher low, higher high, closing over trap, over the 17, over the downtrend line, over the pink line, that's the all-time high anchored VWAP. Downtrend line is this gold line. Up here in the upper third, that's bullish. All right, making higher lows and higher highs, that's an uptrend. And notice all that over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's a bullish environment right there. XLK. Same deal, quadrant 4, that's bullish. Okay, see that? Higher low, higher high, closing. See that? Over the trap, over the rising 17, that's the green dots. Over the uptrend line, that's a gold line. Over the pink line, that's the all-time high anchored VWAP. Making higher lows and higher highs, that's an uptrend, that's bullish. Again, up here in quadrant 4, that's bullish up there in quadrant 4. Anything up in the upper third, that's bullish. All right, let's take a look at XLF. Same deal, higher low, higher high, closing over a trap, over the green dots, that's the 17 EMA. Up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's the pink line, making higher lows and higher highs, that's bullish. Up here in quadrant 4, also bullish. See that? Up there in the upper third. I like to see it hold on to that higher ground. They did a nice job here, but ran into a triple top with a 4th top high, and then they kind of faded from there. There's XLF. IYT, transports. All right, higher low, higher high, closing over a trap, over the 17 EMA, over the uptrend line, transports over the midpoint. Transports not in the upper third, so they're just neutral. They are making higher lows and higher highs, so that puts them in an uptrend, but just neutral. Okay, notice they are not over the all-time high anchored VWAP, just neutral through here. Okay, so there's transports, IYT. All right, let's take a look at our economic package. Got a lot of funky stuff going on this week. All right, let's start off with dollar. All right, here we have the dollar. Let's zoom in right here. Let's get this open. Okay, so there's a high, 2025 high right there. Made a lower high, made a lower low, see a lower high and a lower low. All right, so we're in a downtrend on the dollar. That's DXY. US dollar in a downtrend. All right, let's take a look at max pain. Max pain, you can see, is 588. This is for the SPY puts that expired today at 4:15. All right, so this 588 with a put to call ratio of 1.37. Let's just call it 1 1/3 puts for each call. All right, so get a little squeeze here this morning. All right, so max pain's 588. I don't think we're going anywhere near that. All right, looks like we're pretty bullish this morning. I think we're going to go higher. All right, let's take a look at, what else do we want to look at? We want to look at earnings report. Okay, big event tonight. NVIDIA is going to report after the close, probably after 4:15, probably around 4:30. $3.2 trillion. Okay, this is big manufacturer of graphics cards and microchips. All right, this is probably one of the top sellers for AI performance. All right, so they're going to report tonight. This is the future right here, NVIDIA. Okay, this could probably send us into the stratosphere or send us packing back down to 500. We'll see what happens, all right? We need some good reports out of NVIDIA. I can't see why anything would change. Everything's looking good for NVIDIA. 3.2 trillion they report tonight after the close. Salesforce, 282 billion, they report tonight after the close. Okay, everything else just kind of familiar names, but nothing that's going to move the markets. Tomorrow, Cisco is going to report 481 billion. They're going to report tomorrow night as well. Royal Bank of Canada, 181 billion. They're going to report tomorrow morning. And Dell Corporation and some other familiar names also going to report on Thursday, but nothing really going to move the markets. Friday, nothing here. Just some familiar names, nothing that's going to move the markets there. On the economic calendar right here. Okay. What do we got for today? We've got a little bit of headliners coming in, okay? We've got OPEC's going to have a meeting this morning sometime. MBA mortgage application, 7 o'clock. Richmond Fed Manufacturing Index, 10 o'clock. Treasury buyback announcement. And then FOMC minutes are going to be released at 2 p.m. I'm going to tell you, I don't think they're really going to matter till Trump gets these negotiations out of the way. I'm going to tell you, I don't think Powell knows what to do. He's not going to cave in to Mr. Trump. All right? He's got a job to do, and he's going to do it accurately. I mean, he's done a pretty darn good job so far. I don't think we're looking at any cuts. Not until we figure out, not until he sees what's going on with the tariffs. That's what I really think. So I don't think anything's really going to change. I think they'll probably give price action an EKG. In other words, a big blip up and a big blip down, and we'll probably wind up heading in the same direction we're already heading in. That's my opinion. I don't know. We'll see. That comes out at 2 p.m. All right? That will be a hot event. You might want to be neutral or delta neutral by 2 p.m. Tomorrow, GDP, 8:30. I think GDP is going to look good. All right? We've had consistent 1 month low dollar. Not to mention looming tariffs. If I was country that needed some American products, all right, or I wanted to ship my products to America, I'd get it all out of the way before these tariffs take hold. And while the dollar's low. Just saying, that's what I would do. All right, jobless claims. GDP 8:30, jobless claims 8:30. Pending home sales, 10 o'clock. Gas report at 10, also 10:30. Petroleum report at 12. Okay, after that, it's a pretty light day. Friday, we have international trading goods at 8:30. Personal income and outlays 8:30. Retail inventories 8:30. Wholesale inventories 8:30. Chicago PMI 945. Consumer sentiment 10 o'clock. All right, so that's it for today. All right, I'll take questions in the room. If not, let me fix those postings. And good morning, Papa Joe and Julie. All right, I'll see you guys all in about 45 minutes while I get these recordings out there and posted up. All right, that's it right now, traders, until the market opens up. Again, I'm looking for continuation of that 10-minute uptrend on the SPY. So looking for a green candle. All right, looking for a green candle. I don't want a doji. I don't want a spinning top. I don't want a topping wick. All right, I'm looking for continuation on that 10-minute uptrend. Okay, no red candles. So I want continuation on that 10-minute uptrend for SPY. All right, I'll see you guys in about 45 minutes. Thank you, everyone.